The car wash guy pulled a pair of stockings from under my passenger seat, grinning mischievously. "Dude, you really know how to have fun." I froze. The stockings definitely belonged to my girlfriend, but I hadn't driven this car at all. All right, I let her drive my car. Her car had someone else driving it for me, right? Ding. Story Shots reminds you to click the subscribe button at the bottom right corner to read the full novel. The stockings were crumpled. As soon as I took them, I saw several dried and hardened patches on them. What was that? A man knows right away. My mind went blank. For the past week, I had been on a business trip, and my girlfriend had been driving the car. Today, she wasn't home, so I took the car out to wash it, not expecting to see this shocking and disgusting scene. I didn't dare to think too much. I couldn't dwell on it. Tormented, I waited for the car to finish washing before hurrying home. In the underground garage, I felt a mix of emotions as I started reviewing the dashcam footage. Though I had already anticipated what I would see, hearing it for real made my limbs numb, as if I had fallen into an ice cave. For half an hour, my girlfriend spewed various vulgarities. The extent of it left me speechless. I couldn't imagine that the girlfriend who always appeared elegant and serene in front of me had such an open side. "I'm going to die. How can you be so good at this? Tell me, between me and your wife, who's better?" The man's voice sounded somewhat familiar, panting as he said, "Of course it's you. I get annoyed just looking at that old hag. This part isn't as big as yours. This part isn't as delicate. This part isn't as soft. This part isn't as fair. Hey, don't pinch, it'll hurt. Then how do I compare to your man? Why compare to an ATM? An ATM. So, in her eyes, I was just an ATM? Rage burned in my chest, threatening to explode. I heard my girlfriend ask afterward, "Senior, are you going back to the office later?" Senior, office. So it's him, my girlfriend's company manager, named Fletcher Carlson. He graduated from the same university several levels above her. And I clearly remembered that this guy was already married, looking particularly upright. I could never have imagined that my girlfriend was having an affair with him behind my back. I didn't understand why. For 2 years, I considered myself to have treated my girlfriend with utmost sincerity. I covered all expenses after we moved in together, drove her to and from work every day, worried about her health when ordering takeout, cooked for her whenever she didn't have to work overtime, and remembered all the details of her likes and dislikes. Even her brother's job was something I helped him find. And just not long ago, my parents met her parents, and both families were planning to get us married by the end of the year. Now, anger, disappointment, and heartbreak. I sat in the car, smoking half a pack of cigarettes. Just as I was about to head home, my girlfriend called. "Babe, where have you gone? You took the car too." "I went to wash the car." "Huh? Wash the car? What made you suddenly think of that?" Her voice suddenly had a hint of tension. "Well, it's the weekend, and I had nothing to do." "Then, is it finished now? I'll be home soon." "Oh, okay. Hurry back." Before getting out of the car, I held back my disgust and shoved the stockings back under the passenger seat. Once I got home, I didn't mention what had just happened, but my girlfriend suddenly said she might have dropped her lipstick in the car and needed to look for it. "Should I help you find it?" "Oh, no need, I know where it is. I'll be right back." She grabbed the car keys and hurried out. I couldn't help but smile. A little over 10 minutes later, she returned, looking noticeably more relaxed. "By the way, babe, my parents are coming to the city in a few days and want to have dinner with you to discuss our wedding. You have to behave well, okay?" I understood. I feared that discussing anything else wouldn't matter. The bride price was the top priority. Looking at her face, I couldn't help but think of her calling me just an ATM. I wondered what kind of positions they used in the car. What expressions did they have? How many times had she slept with him behind my back? Was it always in my car? Ironically, I had always thought my girlfriend was an extremely innocent girl, blushing at a few risque jokes and detesting mistresses and scoundrels. But what was the result? She was the mistress of a cheating scoundrel herself. The more I thought about it, the more insane I became, my expression unconsciously turning a bit twisted. The urge for revenge grew stronger. I had initially thought of making an excuse not to go, but when the words were on my lips, I changed my mind. Okay, I won't let Uncle and Auntie down regarding our wedding. The next day, when I went to the car, the stockings were gone from under the passenger seat, including that night's dashcam footage. Heck, no matter, I had already backed it up. I went to investigate Fletcher Carlson's background. It turned out he not only had a wife but also 2 kids. Fletcher Carlson had a great reputation both at home and in public, being a down-to-earth leader, a caring husband, and a devoted father. He seemed like a complete winner in life. That made me even angrier. I had someone follow him for a few days, but they didn't catch him meeting my girlfriend. Instead, they documented that he was secretly keeping a college student on the side. He rented an apartment for the female university student and would often go to see her. That rascal was having quite a lot of fun. I got a new phone number and called Fletcher Carlson at 2 in the morning every day. When he picked up, I wouldn't say anything. After 3 times, Fletcher gave me a good scolding and then blocked me. I still used this number to text his wife. I didn't say anything else, just 3 words, "Old hag." I didn't know if Fletcher's wife caused a scene, but it was clear that Fletcher was going crazy. He started calling me instead. If I didn't answer, he would send me texts. "Who the hell are you? I don't even know you. What do you want? I warn you, if you keep harassing us, I'll call the police." I couldn't help but laugh. Would he dare to call the police? This tactic of startling the snake in the grass was quite effective. Fletcher didn't go to work for several days. I didn't know if it was because his wife was causing trouble at home. I peeked at my girlfriend's WeChat. She pretended to ask Fletcher why he hadn't come to work in a colleague's tone, but he didn't reply at all. Anyway, when we had dinner with my girlfriend's parents, she clearly wasn't in a good mood, staring at her phone and not saying much. After a few drinks, her dad got a bit tipsy and slurred his words as he spoke to me. "Leonard, we're really happy that you and Aileen can be together. My daughter has been pampered since she was little and hasn't experienced hardship. Her mom and I have worked hard to provide her with the best conditions. Now, we just hope she can marry into a good family, someone who won't mistreat her and will take good care of her." I nodded. "Uncle, you're absolutely right. Don't worry. I will treat Aileen well and never let her down for the rest of my life." Her mom chimed in. "I don't know what your family plans are, but over here the bride price is this amount." She held up 2 fingers. I certainly wasn't naive enough to think she meant 20,000. But 200,000, she really dared to ask for it. I had already inquired about the going rate in my girlfriend's family, which was only around 66,000 or 88,000. But I didn't say much, just nodded in agreement. Of course, of course." Her mom continued, "My daughter has a high education, a good job, is 170 tall, and looks so beautiful, right? Not to mention how hard her dad and I have worked to raise her." "Auntie, you're right. I understand." Her dad burped and patted my shoulder heavily. "So," I interrupted him, "so I've discussed it with my parents for the wedding. My family will provide 500,000 as the bride price. Uncle and Auntie, what do you think?" Clang! Her mom was so excited that she fumbled her teacup, and it fell to the floor. How much?" 500,000. "Is that okay, Auntie?" Her dad's eyes widened in shock, and he instantly sobered up. My girlfriend's eyes lit up, and she finally looked up at me in disbelief. I held her hand. "Aileen is smart and considerate, treats me well, and we've been together for 2 years. Our relationship is stable. Uncle and Auntie, you've raised such a wonderful daughter to marry into my family. It's only right for my family to offer a little more in bride price." Little Leonard. "Oh my, I told you. My eye for people is spot on. I can hand Aileen over to you with complete peace of mind." Her dad was so excited that he could barely get his words out. Her mom nodded vigorously. Yes. I thought this kid Leonard was reliable the first time I met him." I smiled. What was reliable or not? It all came down to whether the money was in place. I eavesdropped on my girlfriend talking to her parents. The couple's attitude was very clear. They wanted to ask for as much bride price as possible, and if they could avoid giving a dowry, they would, so they could use all the money to help her brother buy a wedding house. Now that I directly promised $500,000, let alone the house, even the renovation money would be covered. How could they not be happy? Uncle, I haven't finished speaking. I looked at my girlfriend and said seriously, the current house was bought outright by my parents. I plan to buy another school district house before the wedding for our future children to use, and it will only be under Eileen's name. After all, she's marrying me, and I want to give her the greatest sense of security and the best protection. My girlfriend was directly stunned, staring blankly for several seconds before stammering, "Honey, are you serious?" I nodded emphatically. Of course, it was all about painting a big picture. Her parents were so happy they didn't know what to say and hurriedly served me food and poured me drinks, trying to flatter me. The three of us were immersed in immense joy at that moment, and nobody noticed the coldness in my eyes. Let them laugh. The happier they were now, the more disappointed they would be in the end. This huge gap, I didn't know if they could handle it. That night, my girlfriend was unusually affectionate in bed. Unfortunately, my heart for her had already completely died. The next day, I made up an excuse to have a big fight with my girlfriend. Once upon a time, whenever we had disagreements, no matter who was right or wrong, I would always admit my fault first, then try to coax her, and finally buy her a gift to make amends. So in her mind, it was only natural that I should back down. But this time, I refused to do so. My girlfriend was stunned. She probably couldn't understand. Just last night, I had promised her parents that I would treat her well, and today we were fighting so fiercely. Moreover, it was the first time I had pointed my finger at her and scolded her, pointing out all her usual flaws and problems without holding back, leaving her both shocked and angry. "Leonard, you're yelling at me? How dare you yell at me? Don't talk about yelling. If I could, I would want to hit you right now. Aileen, we're getting married, and I hope you can think about it seriously, mature a little, and not always be so willful." I said this coldly and slammed the door as I left. My girlfriend and I entered a cold war. After a few days, probably because she had been waiting for me to apologize like before, my girlfriend surprisingly softened for the first time. Unfortunately, I didn't appreciate it and even mocked her a bit. She was used to me coaxing her, and my attitude deeply hurt her pride, prompting her to scold me immediately. "Leonard, if you can keep this up, don't regret it." My girlfriend moved in with her best friend. When her parents called to mediate, they conveyed it like this. Upped. My girlfriend's brain was still a bit slow. The text message about booking a room at the hotel had long been synced to the tablet at home. I had been waiting outside the hotel for over an hour, and sure enough, I spotted that guy, Fletcher Carlson. Fletcher sneaked into the elevator wearing a mask, and I followed him in. After he entered a room on the 5th floor, I took out my phone to send a warning. "Bro, the chance for revenge has come. Beat him up hard." 40 minutes later, a tall guy in a leather jacket arrived with two blondes. All three looked to be under 20, each holding a baseball bat. The three headed straight for the room where my girlfriend and Fletcher were. "Hello, room service." The tall guy imitated it well, and the door was indeed opened. Once he saw the people inside, without saying a word, he swung his bat first. "F***CK your mother." All three entered the room, and Eileen's scream echoed. "Ah!" Guests on the 5th floor began to open their doors to peek out. I shouted with a strained voice, "Room 505 is caught in the act." Everyone perked up at this and rushed out to see the commotion. I blended into the crowd and started recording on my phone. At this point, Fletcher had already been pinned to the ground by the two blondes, and Aileen seemed to have just taken a shower, her hair damp, wrapped only in a towel, trembling in a corner in fear. I immediately saw that her chest and back were covered in marks. The baseball bat struck Fletcher's back hard, making him scream like a pig being slaughtered. "Stop, stop. I don't know you guys. Who are you?" The three, fueled by anger, were not about to listen to him. The worse Fletcher screamed, the harder they hit. Damn, you still have the energy to yell. Hit him harder, guys. Fletcher, who usually dressed in a suit, looking like a gentleman, was now in nothing but shorts, beaten to a pulp with bruises all over. His instinct for survival made him plead, "You must have mistaken me for someone else. I'm begging you, stop hitting." The tall guy stepped on Fletcher's face. "Do you know why we're hitting you?" Fletcher could only whimper and couldn't find his voice. "I'm asking you, that woman." The tall guy pointed at Aileen, making her shudder. "Is she your wife?" Fletcher, feeling guilty, certainly didn't dare to admit it. The crowd at the door had already started chatting. "That woman doesn't look innocent at all. She has a provocative look. TSK, TSK, TSK. So young, with an old man, what's the deal? Money, what else could it be? So it's basically the same as selling herself. Dude, if you have a girlfriend like that, break up with her quickly, or you might get a green hat one day." Aileen listened to the crowd's discussion, feeling utterly humiliated. She weakly said, "I'm not his girlfriend. I don't even know him. Just admit you two are having an affair. Adulterers, a slut, and a dog." All kinds of insults were thrown out. When had Aileen ever endured such humiliation? She trembled with anger. "We're in a normal relationship. If you don't leave, I'll call the police." The tall guy scoffed. "In a relationship? Go ahead and report it." Fletcher, who had been curled up on the ground, immediately struggled when he heard the mention of calling the police. "Don't. You can't call the police." The tall guy gave Fletcher a hard slap. "Then tell me, why can't you call the police?" Fletcher kept begging for mercy. The tall guy swung his arm again for another slap, causing Fletcher's nose to bleed profusely. "I'm asking you, why can't you call the police?" Because if the police are called, Fletcher Carlson's wife will inevitably find out about his affair, and there's a good chance that the fact that Fletcher is keeping a college girl as his mistress will also be exposed. Fletcher, this so-called successful man, values his reputation above all else. Once his reputation is ruined, he's finished. It wasn't until the hotel manager and security arrived that this farce was brought to an end. The onlookers, still buzzing with excitement, quickly dispersed, and I made my escape. The tall boy was actually the college girl's boyfriend who was being kept by Fletcher. I found him, showed him the evidence I had captured, and told him I could give him a chance to vent, assuring him that this old lecher wouldn't dare to call the police. Poor Fletcher, beaten to a pulp, still had no clue who was behind the attack. Everything went as smoothly as I had anticipated. I sent a pre-edited text message to Aileen Lambert. "Baby, I reflected on my mistakes. I shouldn't have argued with you. We're about to get married, and I should take on the responsibilities of a husband, caring for you and making sure you never feel wronged. I've deeply realized my mistakes. Will you forgive me? Please come back soon. I really can't live without you. Love, Leonard." That night, Aileen returned. Her eyes were red and swollen, and she pouted, refusing to speak. I acted surprised. "Baby, I knew you would come back." Perhaps the events of the day had affected her, as she seemed downcast and said softly, "Just because I'm back doesn't mean I'll forgive you right away. You'll have to show me, and we'll be sleeping in separate rooms for a few days." She must be afraid that I'll see the marks left by Fletcher. I scoffed internally but replied, Okay, I'll do as you say." The act had to be convincing, so the next day I took her to see some houses. 3 bedrooms, 2 living rooms, airy and bright, a ground floor with a yard, a penthouse with a terrace. We visited 7 or 8 real estate offices over a few days, checking out dozens of model homes. I kept repeating, "The house is for you. Whichever one you like, we'll buy." Aileen was obviously thrilled inside, but she maintained her goddess demeanor on the outside. No matter which one we saw, she'd say, "Not quite satisfied, let's keep looking." She remained lukewarm towards me, and I didn't know if she still had feelings for Fletcher. But Fletcher started to suspect her, messaging her late at night, asking if the harassing texts to his wife and the hotel room incident were related to her. Eileen was furious, scolding Fletcher in her phone for being heartless, claiming that she had suffered serious emotional trauma from the incident. How could he doubt her? Fletcher replied irritably, "Just don't contact me for now, and be careful at the office. I'm really scared." Eileen shouted back, "Fletcher Carlson, get this straight. You were the one who flirted with me first, and now it seems like I'm the one clinging to you." The two of them ended up in a huge argument and parted ways unhappily. Eileen's mother found out that we had reconciled and were looking at houses, so she called me. "Leonard, I have one more favor to ask you. It's about Eileen's brother. The job you helped him find before. He's been there for a while but doesn't feel it's right for him. Can you help him find another one? What the heck? Is a good job as easy to find as cabbages? Doesn't she see what kind of education or skills her son has? The job he has now was arranged with a lot of connections from me, and now they want to change it just like that? If this had been before, I would have been unhappy hearing this, but now I really don't care. One pancake is still a pancake, two pancakes are still a pancake. Auntie, about that, don't worry, I'll take care of it. Leonard, I'm afraid it might be difficult for you. If you can get it done, our whole family will be grateful to you." I scoffed, knowing she was just putting on a show. I said, sincerely, "Eileen and I are getting married soon. Her brother is like my brother. We're family, so there's no need to be formal." Her mother was overjoyed. Yes, we're all family." After taking Eileen to see houses for 2 weeks, we finally settled on a new development from a big developer, and she was finally happy. The impact of being caught with Fletcher was slowly fading away. "Honey, this Saturday our company has a big exhibition event. After it ends in the afternoon, come pick me up. Also, the opening for the new building is on Sunday, so we need to get there early. Otherwise, the good floors will be snatched up." Eileen was excitedly planning the weekend. I smiled. This Saturday was bound to be the most unforgettable day for Eileen. Early Saturday morning, I drove her to the venue. Eileen Lambert didn't leave immediately after she entered. Because Eileen Lambert had a great image, the company arranged for her to be the face of the event, responsible for promoting and explaining products to clients at the exhibition. Meanwhile, Fletcher Carlson, the company's manager, was also on site. The two of them acted as if nothing was happening when they met, deliberately avoiding any suspicion. I secretly took a photo of Fletcher Carlson. Looking around, it seemed that at least half of their company's people were present today. Good. If there aren't many viewers for this show, it won't be exciting. I used the same phone number from last time to send a message to Fletcher Carlson's wife. "Hey, old hag, do you know he doesn't love you anymore? He and I are true love. When he holds me, he says you have a small chest, a thick waist, and no charm. I feel sorry for you. If I were you, I'd hurry up and divorce him to make way for me." Right after that, I sent her a voice recording. It was a conversation between Fletcher Carlson and Eileen Lambert while they were messing around in my car. The evidence was solid. His wife called me frantically. I pressed the answer button. "Who the hell are you?" I could tell she was on the verge of exploding with anger. I hung up, sent over the photo of Fletcher Carlson I just took, and added a line. "Didn't expect it, did you? I see Manager Carlson every day, hee. By the way, just to let you know, he will be late coming home tonight, and he might not come back at all. Let me think, are we in the car today or at the hotel?" Arrogant, truly too arrogant. Any woman seeing a mistress send such a provocative message would not be able to sit still. Eileen Lambert was wearing a light purple business suit today, and her pencil skirt perfectly accentuated her figure. She confidently introduced the products on stage, receiving the admiring and astonished gazes of the crowd, her lips curling into an appropriate smile, and her eyes occasionally revealing a hint of pride. Suddenly, a figure rushed onto the stage and slapped her hard. Eileen Lambert was caught off guard, nearly losing her balance from the blow. The audience was also startled. "So you're Eileen Lambert?" A middle-aged woman, full of anger, started slapping Eileen Lambert again. Eileen Lambert was powerless. being yanked by her hair and receiving quite a few slaps. She screamed and tried to back away, her high heels getting tangled in the wires, nearly causing her to fall and expose herself. As for Fletcher Carlson, he was frozen, as if nailed to the spot. At this moment, the crowd finally reacted and rushed to pull the angry woman away. The woman was still not satisfied, glaring and yelling, "You shameless B***tch. Do you think it's glorious to be a mistress and ruin someone else's family? How dare you seduce my husband?" Aileen Lambert's hair was a mess, and her left cheek was swollen. After being helped up, she cried in anger, "You're the B***tch. I don't even know you." A few colleagues who were close to Aileen Lambert chimed in, "Exactly, ma'am. Why did you come up here and hit someone without knowing the situation? Aileen has a boyfriend. They're about to get married. How could she possibly be a mistress? Aileen, call the police." An older person, who seemed to know Fletcher Carlson's wife, hesitated and said, "Ms. Knightley, you must have misunderstood. Aileen hardly even talks to Manager Carlson at the company." Fletcher Carlson's wife yelled, "Misunderstand? You just acted so arrogant, didn't you? Now you're pretending to be innocent, but you know what you've done." Another person came over to mediate. "Ms. Knightley, well, no matter what, today is the company's exhibition. It's better to resolve things privately." Fletcher Carlson's wife didn't listen at all, looking around and shouting, "Where's Fletcher Carlson? Get out here." And Fletcher Carlson himself could no longer pretend to be innocent. His face flushed as he walked over to pull his wife. "Honey, let's talk about this at home." His wife slapped him back. "Get lost. You must explain to me clearly what's going on between you and this woman." Fletcher Carlson looked embarrassed. Aileen Lambert then realized that the woman violently attacking her was actually Fletcher Carlson's wife. At this moment, people in the venue gradually gathered around, company colleagues, senior leaders, important clients, all staring at Fletcher Carlson and the others, whispering among themselves. As the situation became increasingly awkward, Fletcher Carlson looked as if he was about to kneel before his wife. "Honey, you really misunderstood. I absolutely did not betray you. I swear I have nothing with her." "Still denying it, huh? Here, look for yourself." His wife pressed her phone against his face. Fletcher Carlson's expression changed as he saw the texts. "Honey, I'm truly innocent. You don't know how shameless this woman is. She was the one who seduced me first. I didn't do anything. She must be harboring resentment and deliberately trying to stir things up between us." Aileen Lambert suddenly looked up, incredulous as she gazed at Fletcher Carlson. Fletcher Carlson continued to scold, "This shameless woman has been harassing me since she joined the company. I've rejected her many times. I didn't expose her at the company just to save face. But I really didn't expect my kindness would make her increasingly outrageous. Who would have thought?" Fletcher Carlson's words sounded grand and righteous, clearing himself of any blame. Aileen Lambert, however, was painted as a shameless woman who used every trick to seduce her boss. Unfortunately, Fletcher Carlson usually disguised himself well, and those who knew him regarded him as a virtuous gentleman, automatically believing that what he said was more credible. The few people who had just defended Aileen now looked awkward, subtly distancing themselves from her. Aileen was still in shock, staring blankly at Fletcher. Fletcher turned to plead with his wife. "Honey, please, can we just go home for now? Today is an important company event, and we can't let my issues affect it." Fletcher's wife, with a pale face, had calmed down a bit and didn't continue to cause a scene. "Fletcher Carlson, you bastard. You're the one who told me you had no feelings for your wife. You're the one who kept harassing me. It's you." Slap. Aileen was slapped to the ground by Fletcher. No one expected this. Everyone was stunned. Aileen's face today was unviewable. The couple's anger was all directed at her. "I warn you for the last time. The only person I love in my life is my wife. What do you think you are? You can't compare to my wife. If you keep clinging to me, I won't let you off." Fletcher glared at her with disgust, grabbing his wife's hand, ready to leave. Fletcher Carlson, you're forcing me. Aline completely lost it, shouting at everyone. You might not know, but Fletcher has been secretly taking kickbacks from suppliers without the company knowing. He has also privately insulted everyone in the company, saying that Mr. Liddell has a low education, that he only knows how to smoke and drink, and that he just gives orders blindly. He said that Secretary Drake got in through connections, that the people in the marketing department are useless, that HR is just a bunch of people laid off from big companies, acting all high and mighty. He said the developers take money for doing nothing. All of them are a bunch of useless waste. Wow. This performance was beyond my expectations. Fletcher's face turned ashen, his lips twitching. You're talking nonsense. Aline had already put everything on the line. But Fletcher was different. He was a veteran of the company, a respected leader among his subordinates, and now his wife causing a scene at the company event had made him lose all face. Aline had dealt him a heavy blow, making it hard to imagine how he would hold his head high in front of the company people. It was simply too thrilling. I left with satisfaction, as I had another scene to arrange personally, which was my final gift for Aileen. I called Aileen at the agreed time in the afternoon. She told me the company had made other arrangements, and the end time was uncertain. She would just take a taxi back by herself at night. I said okay to come back early and be safe. At 9 in the evening, my living room was filled with people. Eileen's parents, her brother, her close friend, her high school classmates, her college roommates, her uncle, her aunt. Everyone I could think of was there. Eileen's mom proudly boasted to the relatives, "We found a house, and the kids will pay the deposit tomorrow. Aileen is so lucky. It's also a blessing for you too." I smiled slightly and said, "Auntie, there's one more thing I almost forgot to tell you. A friend of mine's dad has a factory with great benefits. My friend said that because of me, he will definitely help Eileen's brother find a job." "Leonard, really? Oh, that's wonderful. I knew you could do it." Eileen's parents were grinning from ear to ear, while everyone else looked envious. Just then, the sound of the code lock unlocking came from outside. I signaled everyone to be quiet and then turned off the lights. As soon as Aileen entered, she saw a dining table illuminated by candlelight, covered in rose petals, with the wall nearby forming the words, "Marry me," with balloons. Soft, beautiful music played from the speakers, and I was down on one knee with a 1-carat diamond ring. "Baby, will you marry me?" Aileen was completely stunned. I was close enough to see her face still swollen from the earlier incident. Although thick makeup covered it, she looked rather haggard. I gestured behind me. Bang! The lights turned on. Everyone behind shouted in unison, "Marry him!" My girlfriend was shocked again. "Dad? Mom? What are you doing here?" And, "Aileen, hurry and agree." Seeing her in a daze, everyone urged her on. I continued with heartfelt declarations. "Ms. Aileen Lambert, you've stolen Leonard's heart, making him restless and unable to eat or sleep. This is a serious crime. Now he must punish you by making you be with him for a lifetime." My cheesy romantic lines moved my girlfriend deeply. She covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. Heartbroken by the wild man outside, she returned home to find an honest guy with a silly amount of affection ready to warm her up. The emotional roller coaster of the day was enough to shatter Eileen's heart. She finally nodded, "Aye." At that moment, I turned off the silent mode on my phone, and the ringtone rang at the most inappropriate time. I took out my phone, saw the message on the screen, and my expression changed. Her dad couldn't help but whisper to me, "Leonard, how can you look at your phone right now?" Of course, I needed to look at it now for the best effect. I ignored him and directly opened the video on my phone. Naturally, I didn't forget to turn the volume up to the maximum, ensuring that everyone in the room could hear it. "I'm not his girlfriend. I don't even know him. Just admit you two are having an affair. Adulterers, a whore and a dog. We're in a normal relationship. If you don't leave, I'm calling the police." "A relationship? Go ahead and report it." "Don't. You can't call the police." Aileen Lambert was right across from me, and she could see the video most clearly. In an instant, the color drained from her face. Everyone nearby saw it too. I looked at Aileen in disbelief. "What is this?" Aileen looked at me in panic, wanting to say something but unable to utter a word. Her mom vaguely sensed something was wrong, came over, and snatched my phone away. When she saw her daughter wrapped only in a bath towel with a disheveled middle-aged man in a hotel room, she nearly lost her balance. Her dad's frown deepened. The room suddenly fell silent, making the sounds from the phone even clearer. "That woman doesn't look like a good person. She has a sleazy appearance. Tsk. So young, with an old man, what's she after? Money, what else could it be? So basically, there's no difference from being a prostitute." Eileen's face turned pale, filled with shame and anger. Her relatives, sisters, and classmates all tactfully found excuses to leave. In the end, only her parents and her brother remained. Her brother immediately got to the point. "Sis, who is that man? He looks at least 40. Your taste is too heavy." Her mom kicked him to shut him up. I took a deep breath. "I recognize him. He's from your company, right?" Aileen buried her head even lower. "Why?" Ever since I found that stocking in the car, I wanted to ask her this question. After holding it in for so many days, I finally had the chance to ask her face to face. Aileen bit her lip and remained silent, but her slightly trembling fingertips revealed her inner panic. "Speak up, why?" I shouted angrily, causing Aileen to shudder, and tears immediately filled her eyes. Her dad couldn't help but curse. "What a useless thing. How can you cry? You've embarrassed our family. Doesn't Leonard treat you well? Do you lack money?" I felt disheartened. I was happily preparing for our wedding, wanting to give you the best of everything. But now it seems it was all one-sided. Aileen shook her head, covering her mouth. "No, no." I raised the engagement ring and threw it off the balcony without the slightest hesitation. "Don't. Leonard, you child, why do this? Why throw away something good?" Eileen's parents changed their expressions, all pained for that big diamond ring. But I didn't care. After all, it was just a prop I bought for $20. "Aileen Lambert, we're done." Eileen's body trembled, and she grabbed my sleeve. "No. Honey, I was wrong. Please forgive me. Don't be so cruel. I promise I'll accept your proposal." I shook off her hand. I never expected the usually proud Aileen would kneel in front of me. "Honey, I'm begging you, don't leave me. I swear, it was just that one time. I'll never see him again. I'll quit my job tomorrow." Eileen's dad also pleaded with me. "Leonard, this silly girl has wronged you. You can hit her or scold her, but you two have been together for so long and are about to get married. Please don't make any impulsive decisions." What a joke. Did they expect me to willingly be a ninja turtle? I rubbed my temples. "Uncle, Auntie, you should leave. I want to be alone for a while." After saying that, I went into the bedroom and locked the door. No matter how Aileen cried outside, I refused to open the door. Eileen's brother, carefree, loudly asked in the living room, "Mom, can my brother-in-law still help me with that job change? And about the apartment my sister likes, isn't it opening for sale tomorrow?" Her mom suddenly became very agitated. "Stop talking. Honey, everything was fine. What is this all about? What a joke. The $50,000 in betrothal gifts, a degree apartment, a high-paying job, face, and substance, all turned to nothing the moment Eileen's affair was exposed. After a moment of silence, Eileen's dad exploded. "Damn it. I'll beat you to death, you shameless fool." In the living room, there was a loud crash, accompanied by Aileen Lambert's cries and her father's curses. I put on my earplugs. In the end, the family had no choice but to leave. That night, Aileen sent me a long message, reminiscing about how I had treated her well since we met, how much she had loved me, and lamenting that she truly cared about our relationship over the past 2 years, saying she really couldn't live without me. "Haha, she means she can't live without me as her ATM." I replied, "If I say I'm still willing to marry you, but without a dowry, without a house, and everything we agreed on before is off the table. Would you still be willing to marry me? Aileen thought there was hope and excitedly replied, I'm willing. As long as I can be with you, I'm willing to do anything. I sneered. Sorry, but I'm not willing. Even if you offer yourself to me now, I still wouldn't marry you. I don't want to spend the rest of my life looking at you and thinking of that old man. It makes me want to vomit. Her parents came to find me several times, bringing gifts and begging me not to be so heartless, saying Aileen was at home not eating or drinking and had even started a hunger strike. I gave them Fletcher Carlson's phone number and home address. They at least had some feelings for each other, and he's both her superior and a senior. I'm sure he'd be willing to talk to her. On Fletcher's side, I heard that his wife was making things even worse for him. Not only did she want a divorce, but she also demanded he leave without anything, and the 2 kids were not allowed to stay with him. Fletcher was overwhelmed dealing with his wife and facing the pointing fingers of everyone at the company, and eventually he had no choice but to pack up and leave. But the company wasn't going to let him off that easily. They were investigating the kickback issue, and he was likely going to jail. As for Aileen, it was even worse. She had long lost the face to go to the company and had resigned online without even handing over her work. On that day of the proposal, all her classmates, friends, and relatives were present. As the saying goes, good things don't leave the door, but bad things spread like wildfire. Now her good reputation had been completely tarnished among acquaintances. I heard her parents scolding her at home every day, and even her brother had been constantly complaining about her. I changed the password on my door lock, packed up all of Eileen's things, and hired a moving company to send them back to her home. From then on, I completely severed ties with Aileen. I didn't expect Aileen to dare to come looking for me. She blocked me in the underground parking lot, pitifully expressing her guilt and longing for me during this time, saying she really loved me and regretted it deeply, asking if I could forgive her for that one mistake. I truly admired her thick skin. I smiled and said, I saw that pair of stockings. Aileen didn't react at first. The stockings in my car, don't say they aren't yours. Even an ATM has its limits. Aileen, you really are something else. Eileen's pupils suddenly constricted. I got in my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, Aileen looked like all her strength had been suddenly drained, collapsing onto the ground. 6 months later, my friends were trying to set me up with someone, and one friend revealed to me that Aileen was almost dating every day, with extremely high requirements. Not only did she want a house and a car, but she also demanded another house with her name on it, and her parents insisted on a wedding with a bride price of $500,000. Damn, does she think she's a diamond to make such demands? I laughed. It seems that the big dream I painted for them 6 months ago still hadn't been digested, and they were still dreaming unrealistic dreams. But anyway, none of this had anything to do with me anymore.